Hi there. This is Dr. John Whitcomb talking about melatonin, your mitochondrial protector. Interesting. You think of melatonin as your sleep hormone, and certainly you put out quite a lot of it when we go to sleep. And it certainly, when you take it as a supplement, helps you sleep. This gets to the core of why do you need to sleep? Well, we know that your brain probably needs to be flushed while you're sleeping, and your brain has more mitochondria than any other cell in your body. Actually, a woman's egg has the most, with maybe 100,000 mitochondria per cell. But the retina part of your brain has 7,000. Your brain cells have about 5,000 mitochondria per cell. Your heart cells are about 5,000 also. But muscle cells are only 200 or 300. If you're in really good shape, maybe 400 or 500. But mitochondria are little race engines, and they work pretty hard. And the problem is they aren't perfect. They're separating electrons, which are so tiny that we're not sure if they're particles or if they're waves. And because of that, it's hard to make proteins that hold on to them exactly. And our mitochondria separate the electrons across a membrane, and they can't do it perfectly. In fact, they make some mistakes. A couple percent of mitochondria escape. A couple percent of electrons escape, and they make reactive oxygen species. And those reactive oxygen species turn on hydrogen peroxide, and that's terribly damaging to all parts of your body. So we frantically take antioxidants trying to protect us from the oxidizing effect of reactive oxygen species. Well, what role does melatonin play? Well, this is what's interesting. Every animal that has a central nervous system and a brain has to sleep, and during that sleep time, it's doing something about recharging and regenerating the brain, and that's probably something to do with the mitochondria, and this is what we now know happens. The mitochondria need to be protected from their own supercharged state. It's like a drag racer just revving its engine at top form, and somebody needs to tune that engine so it's running perfectly. And what the melatonin does is kind of a wonky idea. There's something called the mitochondrial permeability transition pore, the MPTP. And melatonin inhibits that. And it also turns on the ability for some of the electrons to actually escape and make heat. They turns on uncoupling protein. So this is, if you again go back to maybe a steam engine analogy, it's like letting off the steam off of a supercharged steam engine that's just all hot and roaring to go and making too much steam. And you just pull the lever and let the steam escape. For those of us who grew up in the era of steam trains. And that's what melatonin does. It seems to let the pressure, it seems to let the gauge of overchargedness escape. So the mitochondria can sort of breathe a sigh of relief and gradually get back to healthy metabolism. And at night, we're not eating, so we're not forcing more calories into our mitochondria, and we're letting it simply catch up with itself. And as it does so, our metabolism gradually shifts into ketosis, which is actually good for us. We gradually get away from burning carbohydrates, which are the fuel that floods into our mitochondria too quickly. Yeah, there you have it. Mitochondria are protected by melatonin, and that's probably good for us. So good for us, we have to sleep every night. Dr. John Whitcomb for News and Nutrition.